Hi, I'm Sean Duggan, and welcome to TheFIX, the podcast about Photoshop, Lightroom, post-processing, and all the cool and creative things we can do with our images after the shoot. Today, I've got a special Halloween-themed show for you, and my guest is Russell Preston Brown, the Senior Creative Director at Adobe Systems, and we're going to be making monsters in Adobe Photoshop Mix. Don't touch that dial. All right, well, welcome back. Finally made it out of that strange TV set that I was trapped inside, and now I'm back in my regular office. And very pleased to welcome Russell Brown to the show. Russell, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. I'm ready for this monster of a production from one of my friends here in my office.
Is that your intern there?
It is. He's a little frozen and shy, so he's not moving much today, but he does some great work around the office and keeping it cleaned of rats. So
that's good. Yeah, well, I'm sure he can go in and he's probably good when they ever have to do massive remodelings where they have to knock down walls and stuff like that.
Notice I never said his actual name because that would be illegal, because he's just a monster from Tokyo.
We don't want to get into the legal monsters.
Legal monsters.
So speaking of monsters, you and I both have an affinity for monsters.
Monster.
I know that you're a big fan of monsters.
Halloween is just around the corner. I'm ready. I have a closet full of costumes. Monsters are hiding in my closet, ready to emerge. And so it is that time of year.
Well, I remember the Atom conference a few years back in Boulder, Colorado, which was the zombie-themed Atom conference that I attended. That was great fun.
Zombies.
And you were Zombie Lincoln. That was a great costume and great makeup too.
Why, could we insert a photograph of Zombie Lincoln right now?
We can insert a photograph of Zombie Lincoln.
I just thought there it is. Okay, now we're back.
We have the technology. We have the technology to do that. So, when I was a kid, I was so crazy about monsters. You remember the old printed version of TV Guide that we would get, and that's how we knew what was on TV way back in the day?
They used to print TV Guide? Of course I remember it. I'm a child of the 60s. I think I had the copy of Batman and Robin on the cover of the TV Guide in the 1960s. I'm that old. But please go ahead, monster.
Well, anyway, I would go through the TV Guide, and with like a colored pen or a colored pencil, I would circle all the times when there was a monster movie playing that week on all the various channels. I know. So it's amazing I didn't end up in therapy, or maybe that's why I didn't end up in therapy.
Poor child. Is that what brought you to this manipulating monsters in Photoshop? Yes.
Yeah. So, I knew that monsters would sort of be the bait that you couldn't resist to come on and do this.
yes, you did. You did, Brian. I just got out of the Max conference. I'm super busy, and you come along and say, "Let's do a show about monsters," and I said, "Yes." I think I told several other people no this week, but monsters, yes,
monsters. Monsters. There we go. That's the hook. That's the hook.
Monsters. So I'm ready for you today.
It's kind of like Kryptonite and Superman. I knew that was like the weak spot there.
I gave in on monsters.
So you have a project, a really interesting project to share with us, and also to share with the viewers and listeners of TheFIX, because you are kindly and graciously providing the source files if they want to do this project themselves.
So I'll be supplying the monster illustrations that they can apply over their own face or use my face in this project. These monster overlays are on transparency. They were created by my good friend, John McConnell. And I have to say his name 3 times, John McConnell. John McConnell. And now it's legal. He drew these up in Photoshop as a layer with transparency, so you can just drag and drop them. And in my case, I'm going to use Adobe Photoshop Mix on the iPad, but you can also use these same files in Photoshop on the desktop. So you have a choice. So you can
That's-
follow along with the demo here today in Mix, or you can use them in Photoshop. Two choices.
Excellent. And thank you for doing that. That's just so cool.
They're going to have a blast with these. And I think we spoke about the idea, if they don't want to destroy their face and they just want to turn me into a monster, I think we'd love to both see these and they can post them. And I think you'll come up with a way of them sharing them with us in some magic way on Facebook or something.
Yes. I will come up with a hashtag that they can use, and we'll announce that at the end of the show.
A hashtag. Excellent.
I can hashtag them on Facebook or Google Plus or Instagram. So it'd be kind of fun to see that.
You'd be amazed how just recently I've learned about hashtags. I've been trained by someone under 21.
There you go.
Go ahead. Okay, proceed forward with.
All right. So, and then I should just mention, and we'll probably touch on this again, that if you do want to grab these files, we will post a link on the webpage, thisweekinphoto.com/TheFIX, and you can download them. If you want to have them accessible on your iPad to use in Photoshop Mix, you'll need to unzip the file. It'll be a zip file, and you'll need to copy them into your Creative Cloud Files folder. Is that correct?
That is correct. Moving them into your Creative Cloud Files folder will allow you to access them directly from Photoshop Mix, and wait for it, if they're in the Creative Cloud will share the transparency with Photoshop Mix, which is pretty darn cool.
That is very cool.
So it's a Photoshop layered document, but a single layer, and it'll move it over. If you were to move these same files onto your iPad and try and access them directly from the iPad would flatten them and throw away the transparency.
Oh, that is dastardly.
That would be bad. So that's the really amazing advantage of working in the Creative Cloud, is that it's going to maintain the transparency in this process. So,
and the other cool advantage, which is very slick, is that you can take your project, your layered project in Photoshop Mix, and you can choose to send that file to Photoshop on your desktop or laptop computer, and all the layers will be there.
And why don't we demonstrate that at the end of this? We will.
Good, yes. So why don't you start up your whiz-bang futuristic screen share there?
I'm going to start it up now. Here we go. Okay, here we are. I have my iPad open here in the foreground, and I've got Adobe Photoshop in the background, but I'm going to start here with the iPad, Sean. So I'm ready to start my demo.
Excellent. Sally forth.
And so I'm not going for my mouse. I have to go to my tablet here. I'm going to tap on Adobe Photoshop Fix to start this whole process. And I'm going to demo using Fix and Mix in combination with each other for this project. Now, the reason I'm going to Photoshop Fix is because there's a great feature in Fix that allows me to paint in the color blend mode. Now, what you're looking at, that's the only place you can paint in the blend mode of color is in Fix. So I'm going to grab that feature, and I want to start this project by colorizing my face. But you know what? I'm going to show one more thing. I'm going to show this, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we're going here today. This is the creature that I want to create in this project. And now I'm going to go over and start the project. I've had this bad habit of not showing where we're going in demos, Sean. And
yeah, I know I do that too.
And so I need to know whether they want to stay and watch this demo or run away. So I think by showing them that monster, they get the idea. This is what we're going to start with, is with this image of me. But let's go see where this file is. I'm going to tap here on the plus sign inside of Adobe Photoshop Fix. Tapping on the plus sign, you can see that you can go to an enormous number of sources for your images. Images on my iPad, images on Dropbox, Facebook, Lightroom, and the Creative Cloud. As we said, we're placing my images onto the Adobe Creative Cloud. So it will then support the transparency. And I'm going to go here to my monster makeup kit. This is the exact name of the folder that you will receive with all of these elements for creating your own monster. You will also get this image of me as the monster model. We're going to tap on that image of me and open the file. Now I'm opening this file over the internets. And so the speed of your internet is important here, Sean. And I have a very fast bandwidth here at Adobe. And so these images are coming up quickly. But don't try and do this in Antarctica over a satellite connection. I'm just warning you. What do you think about that?
You know, I don't know. That's always been on my bucket list, to go to Antarctica and do big monster pictures.
I'm not to segue, but I was in Antarctica and I actually had to decide to turn off the internet because it cost $20 every minute to make it. Ouch. Okay, back to the movie. We're going to select the paint feature here in Photoshop Fix on my iPad. And you can see I've already selected a color. And why am I selecting this green, pale looking color? It's because that is the monster color of the day. And I'm going to adjust my opacity, my hardness of my brush. It's fairly hard brush, as you see here. And I have a size setting over here because now.
So you're tapping on the size or the hardness icon, and then dragging, and that's how you change the opacity.
Yes, I didn't demonstrate that, did you? Now we can see Russell's demonstrating how he changes the size and how he changes the opacity of the brush.
Excellent.
By simply tapping and moving with his finger or his stylus. I'm a stylus sort of guy, by the way. Do you use a stylus a lot?
I do, yes. I have a Wacom stylus.
So now, notice I am now painting over my image. And in fact, as your studio audience can see, it's in fact painting with the blend mode of color automatically. It's not something you have to set in Photoshop Fix. It's something that's a default setting. And I'm avoiding my eyes. And let's get his ears. And I'm doing this because the makeup that we're going to apply to this monster has a green cast to it. And if I place the makeup onto my face without this colorizing, it would look unusual. The flesh tone would come through. And this is actually what a makeup artist would do, Sean. They would go in and lay down a base coat of color to then work for their projects. And unless you want a weird-looking character, I don't think you should color the eyes. You're going to say something, Sean?
No, I was just going to say that you certainly have experience working with talented makeup artists in your...
Oh, my goodness. I only use the best makeup artists out there. This looks great. We've got our colorization done. I'm going to tap in the lower right-hand corner to accept that colorization. Up in the upper right-hand corner, let's export this by tapping on this icon here. And let's save this to my camera roll right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saving it to the camera roll because now I can go back over to Photoshop Mix right here. And let's start our project in Photoshop Mix by tapping on the plus sign. Notice the similarity between the two programs.
The plus sign there over on the middle left, right?
And let's go get the camera roll, open up the image with the colorization.
Just at this juncture, I want to make sure that people realize that while, of course, they will have this picture here, an earlier picture of you that they could use, but they could also take a picture of themselves or their friend and add the monster makeup parts to their picture.
Absolutely. Just point your iPad or your iPhone at your favorite subject. I would recommend shooting them against a neutral background. That'll add to the effects. If you have too much clutter going on behind you, it might cause trouble. So here we are with my green-skinned character here inside of Photoshop Mix. And now it's got this base layer of makeup, and now we can start to add some layers of monster makeup. And as I said earlier, this monster makeup was done by my friend John McConnell. Oh, let's do that again, because the studio audience didn't see me tap on the plus sign over in the right-hand column to add a new layer.
So that is your interface that shows you your layers there in Photoshop Mix.
That is correct. And I can have 5 unique layers in Photoshop Mix.
Excellent.
And we're going to see that process here. We're going to add a new layer by tapping on that plus sign. And I'm not going to go to the images on my iPad. I'm going to go once again to the Creative Cloud in the left-hand column, to my Monster Makeup Kit. And in this case, let's go to the Monster folder, tapping on the skin texture here to the left. And you can see you've got a great collection of these different layers you can use. And the object is to get crazy and creative and mix and match the monster layers with the zombie layers and create a monster of your own. I think if I knew my math correctly, there may be over 1,000 different variations you could create from just. Do I have my math correctly? I'll figure that out later. Open File in the lower right-hand corner. Watch carefully, because here's the quiz question. Use as image or extract layers? Well, you're asking me which one to choose. In this case, there is only one unique Photoshop layer, so we can choose use as image. If there were multiple layers within your Photoshop document that you're opening here into Photoshop Mix, you could then identify the unique layer that you wanted, and it would pull that layer out and only that layer. Now, Sean, that is impressive. Don't you think so?
It is, although I do have a clarifying question.
Yes.
For myself, because I've used that feature.
If I can't answer this clarifying question, then we'll edit it out. But go ahead.
Okay. So the clarifying question would be, when you choose extract layers, it allows you to just basically lasso, essentially, the layer you want.
That is correct.
What would happen if there were multiple layers stacked on top of each other?
It will get the closest one to your lassoing selection. If the transparency was unique between those, it may have some difficulty. Were you trying to make this a trick question and get me caught? Yes, there could be difficulty choosing unique layers that were directly on top of each other with transparency. I think it's probably going to go for the layer that has the least transparency in that case.
All right.
You want to be able to select it. You are so tricky. You are tricky.
I know. I'm a tricky guy.
In general, studio audience, this would work perfectly unless Sean was there to point out the flaws. Okay, moving forward. Use as layer. Use as image is what I selected. Okay. Transparency, Sean, see the transparency? It was a Photoshop file. I'm using 2 fingers now, and I'm pinching with the 2 fingers on my screen till it gets down to the right size, approximate size. And then I'm going to tap with just 1 finger or 1 stylus and move this into position. Why, that's perfect. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool?
Looks great.
This is super cool. And remember, why did he paint his face green? So that it blended in. Because with flesh tone, this looks a little weird.
Yes.
Okay, let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. This is pretty cool. Tap again on the plus sign in the right-hand side. The Creative Cloud, because we want transparency. Monsters, because I gave them to you. Zombies, because I told you to mix and match the monsters. Zombie gore, oh my goodness. Open File, and as we recall, use as layer, so we pick up the single layer of transparency.
Or rather, use as image.
Use as image, use as image. I just was checking to see if you were listening to me.
I know. 'Cause I know that there's a
I think
surprise.
I should do my demos more often with someone listening in to correct me. Two finger pinch to scale this down to size like this, getting it just right. A single tap to move it, but I have a super user tip and technique for you at this time. I'm going to reposition that one more time. I didn't quite get that where I wanted it. The super user tip and technique is that sometimes when you're moving things around and you have multiple layers, sometimes by mistake you tap in one area and you didn't mean to move the background. You meant to move the face mask. And so you hit the undo button. And by the way, you have 20 levels of undo in the upper right-hand corner here. This arrow, this U-turn arrow here.
Yes, very good.
So here's the trick. You want to move the face mask, for example. So you tap to identify that that's the one you want to move. Then if you use two fingers anywhere on the screen of your iPad, two fingers anywhere, and you move, then you automatically pick up the face mask. So let me repeat that again. One finger moves the background. Two fingers with the target on the mask moves the mask. So it's a great...
And you're targeting the mask, you're targeting the face mask by tapping on its layer icon on the right there.
Excellent observation.
I see.
Excellent.
Very good.
Must be targeted, then the two fingers will work to identify it. So I really like that. Okay, now we are ready to use our blending features. Great capability here. And that's what I really love about Mix, because it's all about mixing images together. So I'm going to tap on the layer that I want to blend, which is this gory face that's rotting off of over here. I'm tapping on that. You see me tapping there? I've identified. Then I'm going to blend at the lower section here on blend. And now I can zoom in. You'll find that if you try zooming in on the image when you're not in one of the modes, it merely scales that layer that you're currently targeting. But a great way to understand is go into a mode and then you can zoom in for more detail.
And so by a mode, you mean any one of those icons along the bottom toolbar that take you into a different functional state.
Excellent.
Cool.
I'm definitely going to invite you to all my presentations. Clarification. Notice the white fringe along the edge. That's ugly. White fringe. We can get rid of the white fringe by tapping on darken. Cool. So look at all the blend mode options. Experiment with blend mode options with all of these layers I'm giving you, because I like that darken. The multiply is best. You know why? Because darken doesn't show the blood dripping down my
right, you're right. Yeah.
Ooh. So, but the teeth aren't showing. So we can solve that. So we are going to tap, by the way, on the checkbox on the lower right. We're going to accept that. And then tap once again on that same layer. I'm just tapping to reveal the fact that you can duplicate a layer. Because, Sean, as we both know, if one layer is good, two layers are always better.
Indeed.
And so tapping on that one, let's now blend the second layer, tapping on the blend at the bottom, zooming in, and changing the blend mode to, let's say, lighten. Aha! You see, in this case, we can see the teeth really nicely. So we've chosen lighten on the second layer, and it's sitting on top of the first layer, which was set to darken.
All clear.
Is it clear? Sean's going, how is he going to fix this?
Right, because now you have the same problem again.
I do. Checkbox in the lower right. The next favorite feature in Photoshop Mix has to be the cutout feature. So we're going to tap on, notice I have my layer tab selected over to the right. I'm selecting cutout. I can then zoom in. I don't see all of my other layers. To achieve that, you tap in the upper right-hand corner on the multi-layered icon here. And now you can see them, and now you can't.
Ah, very slick. I like that.
Because sometimes you need to identify just areas you want to work on. But in this case, we want to see them. We're doing the cutout. We want to add to the cutout over here to the left. You can see add. We want to use the smart selections here to the right because it's going to do edge detection. If you tap on smart, you can choose the basic selection, but in this case, we want edge detection. And now we tap, watch very carefully, and we can add the teeth in. And notice how it's snapping to the edges, and it gives me just those areas I want. And if I went a little too far, tap on the minus sign and subtract over here, just like that. Then, finally, to finish this all off, feathering the selection by tapping on the word feather and sliding to the right. Notice I can start to blend the edges, and you can see the blending of the edges. If we turn off all the layers, there's the soft edge selection that's being applied to this. So now we have a great combination of both a blend mode of multiply and a blend mode of lighten, I think we chose. So we have lighten on the top and multiply on the bottom. So keep that in mind. And I think users keep this in mind as they're building up multiple layers. So let's go ahead and let's finish this. I'm wasting too much time. Let's get this project going. I'm going back to my monster kit. Oh, it definitely needs this forehead here.
Yeah, that is a beautiful forehead.
It is a beautiful. Use as image. Do I need to keep on repeating the process, or will they understand that I'm going to my Creative Cloud folder, I'm selecting the image, I'm scaling it with my two fingers to scale this? And do you notice you can also do some slight rotation to the images? Let's get the makeup to line up just right. Wait, I would try that one more time. There, perfect. So that's in alignment. Wait, I want to add another layer. Sean, I want to add another layer, but there's no more layers to be added.
Yes, you've reached the numerical limit there.
Is there a way? Why, of course there is. We're done with this first layer, this mask. So I tap, drag it down, tap and hold on the layer, and drag it down over the base layer. And it gives me the option to merge the layers or to copy the mask. I'm not doing any mask copying, but this is really interesting in that if you had a mask on one of your layers that you created with a cutout tool, it would then transfer that mask to the layer that you're moving it to. And in another episode, we'll talk about that one, but not this one. But it's a really great super user tool to copy a mask from one layer to another. I'll let you think about that for a while. You're thinking of reasons why you would need that. We're going to merge the layers. And look, I have a new layer again. I have made a destructive commitment. I have merged those layers together, and they will not be separated at this time, but that's okay because I really liked that layer. I'm tapping on the plus sign, going to my Creative Cloud and my monster makeup and my monster images and hair. I believe every monster should have hair because I have no hair at all. Let's bring in the monster hair. Oh, you know what? I am going to add one more thing to this. That hair looks great. I've run out of layers once again, and I'm going to select this base layer, drag it down, combine it, merge it, and I have another layer. But in fact, I'm going to add one more. I'm going to take this next layer and drag that down as well and merge that one in. And so now let's add another layer. Creative Cloud, monsters, the monster, and it has to be this green neck stitches. Oh my goodness. I don't leave home without the green neck stitches.
Yeah, otherwise your neck would get cold.
Yeah, that is too good. That is too good. You know, let's take a look at something with those targeted. Let's just look at some blending options. Do I have enough time to show them my blending options?
Sure.
Let's go to multiply. I'm just cycling through the different blending options available. And you know, I think because I think there's a slight difference between darken. The darken is going to imprint only the darkest values onto the skin texture, and I think it's going to blend in more nicely that way. And given the fact that, as I said, we're in this blend mode, we can actually zoom in with our two fingers. This is looking so sick. I love it.
People are going to have a lot of fun with this.
They're gonna have a blast with this. Just think what you can do to your friends, and then post them.
I'm going to do it with my face, and I've got my beard there, so that'll be interesting, to see.
Yeah, there are some things that might not be possible, but with a blend mode over your beard, it might actually work.
It could be. It could work.
Let's finish this all off. Oh! Here's I forgot this part of the demo. I'm going to tap on the base image because we know that monsters don't wear shirts with buttons. And there, I can see some of my flesh here in the lower left-hand corner. I want to show you how you can take the image from Photoshop Mix and send it over to Photoshop Fix to work on it with both the healing and liquefy. Now, I must tell the studio audience, however, that if you take an image over to Fix, it will remove the transparency from the targeted layer. So one would be careful about removing a layer that has transparency. But in this case, I am transferring the background layer, which has no transparency, so there will not be a problem. So
but
now,
good to know that.
Now
good
you
to know that.
So
cautionary tale.
Heal in Photoshop Mix. Check this out. It's transferred our base layer over. We zoom in. We take the spot healing brush, and we get rid of, oh, so much better. Flesh tone here. Oh, what's that? Why, Sean, this is a feature. When you heal something near the edge, it does not know that there's an edge. So you must use this clone stamp tool, target the area you want to, your source, then start painting.
So you're to target the area that you're cloning from, you just tap somewhere else on the image.
Let's do it. Yes. Tap once, it leaves a marker, then paint.
I see.
Cool. I like to use this technique, Sean, of the clone stamp tool because the spot healing brush has a notorious feature that doesn't let you heal things too close to the edge. I just point that out, that the clone stamp tool should be used for healing things near the edge of your document. And let's tap to return to Photoshop Mix, and we're back. Notice.
There it is. It's updated. Very nice.
Now, I'm going to try something. I'm going to hit the undo button because I want to know, aha, it undoes. Will it redo? Yes, in fact, you can undo something that was created in another application on the iPad.
So, Russell, I just have a quick question about this. So I know that both Photoshop Fix and Photoshop Mix are free on the App Store. And this is for iOS only at this point. Is this correct?
This is correct. And you are going to ask me a very important question. Would you like to ask a question, or shall I read your mind right now? I'm going to read your mind.
Read my mind.
Your question is going to be, this free application, I can download the free application, but Russ, can I use this ability to transfer and share files with the Creative Cloud if I don't have a membership in the Creative Cloud? And the answer is you must have a Creative Cloud membership in order to transfer and open files and be able to use fix and mix in this process. So yes, Sean, you do need an Adobe Creative Cloud membership to fully use the power and capabilities of these amazing programs. There, is that the answer to your question?
Yes, you read my mind. I just wanted to clarify that for.
I'm cosmic. I'm in my.
And then obviously that extends to people using these files to be able to open them up with transparency into Photoshop Mix, because they have to be able to open them up from Creative Cloud.
This is correct.
However, they could, if they don't have a Creative Cloud subscription, they could still use the layered Photoshop files, download them to their computer, and just open them up into Photoshop and have fun with them.
Everything you are seeing here today can be done inside of Photoshop with twice as many, 10 times as many capabilities for working inside of Photoshop. Oh,
excellent.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Let's finish this up. My theory about compositing is that if you have separate files, separate layers, they may have come from different sources, they have different levels of noise in them, different tonal color qualities. The secret to life itself, Sean, is to your final element that you add to any compositing project is a overall layer that covers all of them. And let's do that with my final layer at the top. I'm selecting my plus sign. And Sean, one of my favorite things to work with are textures from a company called Flypaper. Now, these are textures that I use. They're really, really great. But you could go out and take a photograph of some cement or a dirty wall or your rug, and you could use that as a texture.
How do you know what my rug looks like?
I saw it through the camera view. Okay, and you select your favorite texture. Bang, this is the texture I like. And then I bring that in. Let's scale it up. I like the gradient in this particular texture, just like that.
And this is just the standard kind of thumb and forefinger pinching.
I'm pinching. And there, I'm done. No, I'm not. That's looking great. The final step to blending this all together is to target that top layer with that texture. I've scaled it up in size. And of course, we're going to do a blend here at the base. And our favorite, does it have to be overlay? Bingo. So now we've applied the overlay blend mode. It's blending over all of the layers. And I didn't show this earlier, but you can move a layer to a different position within the stack of layers by tapping and moving it to another position in your project. You could then get different effects where the texture didn't appear on the hair, for example, because it's underneath the hair. But that's complicated.
Excellent.
So we're going to hit our checkbox. And then to close this all off, there's just one last thing I want to show you, is that you can add different looks or adjustments. So here's all of the adjustments you can make. And Sean, I did that too quickly. I'm tapping on the word adjust in the lower portion of my screen to see all of my adjustments.
Good save there.
And Sean, what I really like with these textures are looks, because look at this. I can then choose different looks. Again, on the upper right-hand corner, tap to see all of my layers. And what I love is that I can tap on these and get and see different ways in which this texture I've chosen would be colorized to add to the effect. So here's more of a warming value, a vintage look. So this is my final segment. Ooh, I like that one. I like that. This is my final edit to show you that you can quickly make these adjustments. Wait, one more. Do I like landscape? It's a little darker. I like that one. Once I found it, I tap here, and I like that. I like everything about this. I love this. But now, Sean, I am ready to maybe finesse this or do some adjustments that could only be done inside of Photoshop. So here it is, the final step to this whole project. And this is really crazy. By selecting the export button in the upper right-hand corner here, the export right there, we're going to send this layered document. That's right, I said layered, over to Photoshop by tapping here. It's saving this into the Photoshop PSD format, as you see on the screen. And if everything goes well, I'm going to move my screen down to the right, just like this. And in a few moments, if life is good and the internet is working successfully, Sean, it will then transfer a copy of this monster into my Creative Cloud, into a folder called, look in the upper right-hand corner. A new composition has been added to your Creative Cloud.
And there it comes.
And so now it not only copies that into your Creative Cloud, but it now has a copy here opened automatically on my desktop inside of Adobe Photoshop.
And do me a favor, why don't you tear your layers panel off and kind of bring it out into the main part of the interface so we can see, maybe make your thumbnails bigger and your layers panel that way.
You think I know how to do that? I haven't changed the thumbnail size in a long time. You caught me off guard. Panel options, thumbnails larger.
There we go.
It was a test. I'm feeling the pressure. I'm feeling the pressure.
I had to get a trick question in there. You know,
Sean, you'll notice that each one of the layers is still here from this project, and I can work with them in Photoshop. But here's my final proof of the amazing nature of working with the iPad and with Photoshop is that, remember the adjustment we made to the texture I brought in, and I made the adjustment and adding some qualities to it.
That was in the look, right? That was called the look.
So yeah, look at this. If I swirl this down, just hold on to your bat belts here. That is, it's been converted into a smart object, and there's now a camera raw filter applied to it that can be adjusted or turned on and off.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Sean, I say to you that this has been a heck of a demo. This has been incredible.
It's been a monstrously good demo.
Oh, I missed that off that. Oh, I missed that one. Thank goodness you were there to catch it. It's been a monster of a demo that took you all the way from the images that we're supplying them through Photoshop Mix and Fix right here to the desktop where they could start and continue their project or save it and share it from here. But keep in mind that this is a copy that's been brought to the desktop, and you cannot send this, unfortunately. Wouldn't that be great? You could send this back over. However, you could put this back into your Creative Cloud folder. You could access it from Photoshop Mix, but you could only load in the layers one at a time from Photoshop Mix, as we saw earlier. If you, for some reason, had to pull these layers back in again.
So the workflow for somebody who wanted to create something in Photoshop,
yes,
different layers with transparency and whatnot to be able to use in Photoshop Mix would be to save out each layer as a separate document and then put that in their Creative Cloud folder, right?
Absolutely. If, for example, we turned off all of these layers, and we know that we have transparency, for example, on the hair here, or even let's turn this one back on. We know we have transparency built into this particular file. You're right. I would have to, if I wanted to share this image and its transparency, I would have to do a save as, and I'd have to save it as a Photoshop document and put it into my Creative Cloud files folder, as you just said. Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. And then once again, I'd be able to access that from within Photoshop Mix as a source file. Yep. I think that's it. All the way here to Photoshop and making monsters. And I love that texture here.
It's cool. I really look forward to see what maybe some of the viewers and listeners come up with if they decide to try this out.
Absolutely.
So, if you want to create your own monster, ooh, that monster looks pretty scary there, Russell. I think he liked the demo.
He did. He's smiling.
He's got a good smile. He has better teeth than the monster that you just created.
Better teeth than I do.
Anyway, if you want to use the monster makeup kit that Russell Brown is kindly providing for us and create your own monster with perhaps your picture or a picture of your friend or significant other, hint, hint. And you can do this either in Photoshop Mix, of course, if you have a Creative Cloud subscription, or you can just use the layered files in your desktop version of Photoshop. If you come up with something cool, share it on your favorite social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, Google+, whatever, and give it the hashtag, 2 hashtags I like you to give it, TheFIX, which is the name of this show, and then hashtag MonsterMix. And that way we can find them and take a look at them and maybe share some on the next episode, share some of the best ones.
I love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Russell, where can people find additional tutorials and learning materials that you create?
Well, they would first go to Behance and check out my portfolio of images. I also have links to my tutorials, which have a direct link back to Vimeo. If you want to go directly to the source and see all of my tutorials, I would search for Russell Brown on Vimeo. Type that into, you can see me typing that into, there we go, typing that into your browser, Russell Brown on Vimeo, and poof, you'll come up with a link to my Vimeo site. And these days, that's where I'm posting all of my tutorials and videos, and you'll find a connection to all of them there. I have a variety of stuff from the iPad to the iPhone to Photoshop and to aerial photography, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, I know. That's a whole other cool area you're working in.
That's the place to find me.
Excellent, excellent. And we'll put links in the show notes so people can just click on them and be taken there.
What? Well, that's amazing. Let's do that.
We're living in the future. We are just living in the future.
Links to files.
So anyway, Russell, thank you so much for coming on and bringing your intern there to help out and showing us that. That was really fun. And thank you also for supplying those files so people can have fun with the monster makeup kit on their own.
They're going to have a blast.
They will.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Cool. So thank you, as always, for tuning in. Remember, you can always subscribe to the audio version of TheFIX on iTunes. And as always, you can find the video version on the website at thisweekinphoto.com/TheFIX. And while you're there, be sure to take a look at some of the other cool photography-related podcasts that are available for your viewing pleasure. And thanks for watching. I'm Sean Duggan. We'll see you next time on TheFIX.